failing doesn't kill you, and it's not final. It's just a setup for the next thing.
If you've always done what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. So you do have to actually try new things.
What do I need to do over this quarter? I want to have 10 million bucks. Okay, why? Why $10 million? And what are you going to do when you've got 10? Just setting a hard, I want 10 million bucks is a stupid goal. And I think if you set your goals with a level of certainty, there's already an internal belief within your mind that it's going to happen. You can do two things in life. You can make it, or you can make money. We've got a world that, social media draws you in and consumes your time in relationships, and food choices aren't necessarily as holistic or healthy as they could be, and become more insular. You can only run 50 meters, great. Do 60 tomorrow and 70 the day after that, and you'll get it. But if you wait for it to be perfect, it just doesn't happen. We're starting off with new goals, new year. It's something we do each and every year, and you can see in the archives plenty of examples that this one is very, very different. It's also a lot more personal. Hey guys, welcome to this week's Money and Investing Show as we wrap up season 6 and move into season 7. Big thank you for all of our loyal listeners over the last number of years. We're starting off with new goals, new year. It's something we do each and every year, and you can see in the archives plenty of examples that this one is very, very different. It's also a lot more personal. And we feel that as you start to have open, honest, and frank conversations with people, it pulls down barriers. There's going to be a lot for you to take out of this, not from our stories, but how you approach the year ahead to make sure you kick the goals that you truly deserve. Don't just take notes. As always, take plenty of action, and we'll see you in the show. Hey guys, welcome to this week's Money and Investing Show with me, your host, Andrew Baxter, and as always, my offsider and co-host, Mitchell Olarenshaw.
We made it, AB, another season down, season 6. Well done, my friend.
Season 6 concluded. This is season 7 we're starting, so we
Holy
are
smokes.
there, which is insane.
We have not missed a week in 6 years.
No, good habits never break the chain. And I think when we started out, everyone said, don't do weekly, you'll never be able to keep it up. This is our 7th year of doing this.
Congrats.
We haven't missed a week. No, congratulations to you too. I think we've spurred each other on a little bit, and hopefully we can spur our listeners on a little bit too with some goal setting for the year ahead, because life doesn't happen by accident. It happens by design, and you get to design it.
It's funny, we're the Money and Investing Show after all, so usually most of the stuff we talk about is dollars and cents, but I find amongst our regular listeners, the people who have been around for 2, 3, 4 years, this is often one of our most popular episodes for good reason.
Look, I think so. I mean, even though we're going to talk about X, you can apply it to you and your circumstance. Because goal setting is a process ultimately, and we're not going to go through the mechanics of, okay, so this is how you set up a SMART goal. It's going to be specific and measurable and attainable, and there's going to be a result. Come on, we're past that point. We actually run training on this anyway for people that do want to dive into that. I guess, how and why do things happen? And I mentioned in passing, I guess, just before, one of the most powerful things we all get to do is to create our future in advance by goal setting. And really, goals are just dreams with deadlines. So take a bit of time out. Think about what's important to you. And yes, we are the Money and Investing Show, so perhaps some dollars and cents will be part of that journey. Of course. But wealth is more than money. It's about having control of your time, peace of mind, health. All of those things, are extremely important components within this. And if you spell it out and delegate sufficient resourcing to it and keep it top of mind so it's always in your focus, there's no reason why you can't achieve virtually anything.
Yeah, and let's face it, the habits, the discipline, and the structure that we apply in our personal lives, more often than not, parlays into our professional lives, and that involves investing. So I can assure you, if you want to be good at trading or you want to be good at investing, get good at looking after yourself first, because it all flows through.
It does. It's a facet. The way you do anything is how you do everything. And if you're sloppy, then most things you do are going to be sloppy.
That's it. All right. Well, let's get started. So I think at the start of any year, the most important thing you need to do before anything else is go back and reflect.
Yep,
okay, because you can't get better without looking back first. So let's go through 2025 for you, AB, and we'll trade blows here. What worked and what didn't? Yeah,
the reflection process is probably the most painful or euphoric part of this, depending on how the year has been for you. And it's quite confronting too, because the only person that you have to be accountable to you is yourself in this, and because they were your goals. They're not somebody else's, they're yours. And so trying to objectively look through and say, okay, at the start of the year, and a lot of people set New Year's resolutions, most New Year's resolutions don't really make it past Australia Day. you've got to have a more structured approach to that. So having them written down and putting some thought into why they're important to you, what are the motivators, and more importantly, what are the action steps to ensure deliverability? Very, very important part of it. So having that reflection period. So for me, my year was very, very good financially.
Okay.
No question about that.
Best year yet?
One of the best years.
Congrats.
I got a lot of stuff done. The markets were supportive for what my view was, and so it's been lucrative in the sense of the trading sense. From a property perspective, one of my goals this year was to finalize property purchase in Italy, which was incredibly complex.
Yep.
Got that done, and have the keys, and that to me was probably not one of the bigger goals financially, but I wanted to achieve that for family reasons. We spent a lot of time in Italy, and having a home base that we can operate out of was really important to me. And notwithstanding it was a learning curve, I always look at any of these things as a learning curve, and certainly picked up a lot of new skills. In other aspects of the sort of the day to day, we my wife and I have had a really difficult year personally. I don't mean in terms of our relationship, but our sixth child, our daughter Honey, was born in March. She was premature, which in itself was okay, but we almost lost her. We had to get her resussed and got evacuated taken up to the big hospital up in Brisbane, and a month in ICU. And that was a very confronting period of time, because as someone that likes to be in control of their life and the goals that they set, all of a sudden you're just there with no ability to really control anything other than, obviously my wife and I had the ability to be there to support each other. And I think the knock-on effect of that for us as a family, it took us a little while to deal with it. My daughter's fine now, which is wonderful, and a very happy addition into the household. But I think it reframed a lot of things as to what's important, and a couple of my goals mid-year or through the year changed because of that experience. Horrible experience. I think I'm a better person for going through it.
I remember seeing you through that time, and that would have been hard. I mean, it was hard for us to see it from the outside. I can only imagine. But as you say, you're a happy family now, and I saw some pictures of Honey the other day. She looks beautiful. She is, takes after her mother. There you go. Shameless plug for how beautiful my wife is. But so the things come along in different ways, and so I guess what's one of the reflections out of that, and it's probably for me being more grateful, and focusing on what I have, not what I don't have. Big one. That's beautiful. And my wife and I had that conversation at the weekend again. I'm a slow learner. I do listen, but I do listen to her. I definitely listen to. We need to listen to our own advice. Going back and listen to season 1 through.
And we're diving into yours in a mix. I think you might have been on a similar journey to an extent too. In that we're so achievement driven that it's next. And we've talked about this before. It's like, I've hit some massive goals this year in certain areas, and it's like great next, as opposed to sitting back and actually going and absorbing the fullness of that achievement. So I think, that was something, certainly, even though it was wrapped in not the most pleasant wrapping paper insofar as my daughter, it was a great gift, is to actually appreciate truly what you have. But there you go. A bit more personal than I normally go with this, so help me out here. Give me a bit of your stuff.
All right. Well, I must admit it was a relatively successful year for me too. I had 8 annual goals, 7 of which were achieved. For me, I work on binary yes or no. Probably the things that worked really, really well before I go into the things that didn't work so well. I had some really solid personal goals around reducing debt levels, and I can say I actually doubled the goal that I was looking for.
Wow.
So for me, getting my mortgage paid down was a massive priority this year. I had a certain amount in mind that I wanted to clock off, and I'll have done double of that. So that was really pleasing, just from a security perspective, I guess, on my end. Mainly, though, health and fitness for me were 2 massive ones.
Massive few, that space for sure.
I wanted to run 2 ultra marathons this year. Now, anyone who's ever prepared and done and recovered from an ultra marathon will know that's not something you just do in 6 weeks. That is 14 weeks of prep, the run itself, and then the whole recovery psychologically, physically. That takes it out of you. And I'm very proud to say I got 2 ultra marathons done this year, which for me was just a massive high, because I did marathons, which was great. But as always, you want to go up a level. So then you go to ultra marathons. And I can honestly say I pushed my mind and my body to the absolute limit of what I was able to this year. Next year, that was a different story.
So if I can interject there for a minute, the first one that you did, I didn't sense that you were. I sense that you weren't happy with your outcome that you got from that.
True. That's right.
And you should be, because it's a huge accomplishment in what you're doing, but I know you didn't get to what you expected to in that particular endeavor. How did you, apologies for putting you on the spot with this.
Please do.
I've just revealed my spleen to the world. Your turn now. And that is, how did you deal with the psychological setback? Because I know physically you're busted up on the back of it, but the psychology of it, of not getting to where you got to when you're someone that's used to achieving it, how did you deal with that and maybe pivot from that to move forward to your next achievement in that space is what I want to dive into.
It's a really good question, because as you say, I'm not used to failing, or at least...
It wasn't a fail. Let's not put that label on it.
Okay.
It was a frustration you didn't get as far as you wanted to.
I guess I've been used to overachieving the last couple of years. So for me, it was a bit of a shock to the system that I really was quite confident in myself, probably too overconfident that I would get to a certain point. And then I didn't. It probably realigned my expectations. But I guess when I really sat back, part of me said, okay, I've done something that's really hard to do, so I need to be proud of myself. And a lot of people around me told me the same thing, but there was just something missing that I just couldn't quite get past. And for me, it was like, right, okay, enjoy the fruits of my labor now, because shortly after that, I went to Europe and I had a great time for 3 weeks.
Yep.
I ate and drank and had a great time and whatever. But when I got back, it was business. And I knew that I had a number of deficiencies in my preparation and my race. It was an ultra marathon that I had to fix the next time round. And I just knew that second time I was not going to miss, because I had done everything. But I guess you just, you get hit hard and you feel sad about it, but you have to have a solution to that.
Gotcha. Okay. So this is really the essence of, I guess, what I want to get into is that there are always going to be setbacks, and sometimes they're within your control, sometimes they're not. And I think psychologically it's how you deal with that setback, whatever it may be, and somehow within it find the thread of good that's going to push you forward. So to quote my dear friend John Maxwell, you're failing forward in terms of what you're doing. And I don't like to use the term fail, because it's not a great term, but to take the essence of, okay, this is why I'm frustrated with my outcome, and it's not what I wanted. So rather than pack up my bat and ball and go, well, that was that, what can I do differently to make sure I do get what I want?
Yeah, self-aware enough to know my deficiencies down and know that I should have known better.
Is that hard to admit? I mean, we're talking to thousands of people right now. And again, I apologize for putting you on the spot, but I guess one of the policies for season 7 is rawness. That's a new thing. And so not at all, or?
I have no qualms in saying that I had deficiencies in prep and I did things wrong, because I'm not perfect, and I know that, and it was my first ultra marathon, so I'm not expecting to be an expert.
And we're not talking about like a Sunday morning fun run here. I mean, we're talking about a pretty extreme physical
race.
target.
Yeah. Pretty
so
fanatic.
Having a deficiency in achieving something pretty extreme is so beyond what most people would ever be capable of doing. So it's a high bar. I get that. And I think that's a really interesting point that you just break open, is that the self-awareness and comfort with exploring a shortfall is something that's really liberating, because failing doesn't kill you and it's not final. It's just a setup for the next thing. Yet so many people, either in the trading context or in a business context or in a relationship context or in practically any, I tried to cook dinner for someone and it didn't work out. Failure is not final. It's how you choose to frame it out and go, okay, what can I take from this? Now, I'll give you an example. Not this year. This is going back in the mists of time.
Oh, yeah.
It's going back a really long time. I remember the first time I ever cooked for somebody.
Oh, no.
A girl I had coming over for a date is when I was at university. So this is going back a long time now. And in good faith, I remember she came over for dinner and I said, oh, no, I probably oversold it. I've always been quite strong on the sales side. And I said, I'm going to cook a moussaka. I remember it like this was yesterday, but I didn't have any eggplant, which is the principal ingredient for this thing, right? And it was like, it was an epic fail. It looked like something you'd probably feed the dog, to be perfectly frank.
Gosh.
Didn't negatively impact on the relationship, because I managed to talk my way out of it and whatnot. But when I look back at that, and I love cooking now, and so that for me was an epic fail, humiliation. That didn't stop me dating anybody, and it certainly didn't stop me cooking. It just meant that next time, get your game plan tighter and make sure at the most basic level you've got all the ingredients. Now, if you parlay that across to trading, for example, it's like, I took this trade, but I didn't really understand the asymmetric risk return on it, or I didn't have all of my technical indicators under control, or I didn't realize that when interest rates are cut, it does this to treasuries, or whatever it might be. That's an example where there's a deficiency in your preparation. And now you've had that mistake, you've stubbed your toe, taken a little bit of bark off, probably, or hopefully more off your ego than financially. You either regroup or you walk away. And if you're someone that's listening to this podcast, it's about goals and things of that nature, you are going to be someone that's looking for that edge to regroup, to grow from it, not someone that's looking to pack up.
Yeah.
So failing is not final. You have to do a postmortem on what went wrong in every sense of the word, to isolate something that either is or isn't in your control so you can fix it so it doesn't happen again next time.
The thing I would challenge our listeners to as we reflect on 2025 into 2026 is, if you've always done what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. So you do have to actually try new things. In my example, ultramarathon has a never done before thing. I had never ever attempted one of those, and I learned a lot from it. So the only reason I was able to become a better person and learn and grow and do all those things was because I challenged myself to do something that I'd never done. And I would urge everyone to do the same this year.
Here's something on that, if we use that as a bit of a case study, is you also set your standard here where you said, I'm doing this. You didn't say, I'm going to have a go at doing this. So I'm doing this where there's a level of certainty. And I think if you set your goals with a level of certainty, there's already an internal belief within your mind that it's going to happen. It's not like, oh, I'm going to try and just for the benefit of everyone. So you wanted to do a 100-kilometer run in 10 hours or less.
Yep, correct.
Which you did.
Yes.
Which is an incredible achievement. And you'd be in a very, very small point, something of the population on the planet that either are capable or have done that. But you set your stall out, I'm doing this publicly, or at least to everyone here. So there's a level of accountability that then goes alongside that as it gets closer, as your training going, because people are invested for you because they've heard it.
Yeah.
And there are two things to take out of it, or probably more than two things to take out of this. Number one is when you tell people, if there's someone that's not supportive of that, if they're going, oh yeah, right, love to see you try and do that, they're not someone that you need in your tent. That's someone that's negative. They don't have the belief in you, and maybe they're projecting their insecurity onto you by going, you're never going to be able to do that. Who'd want to waste their time doing that? And all the other negative stuff that people, that's a very, very good sort of cattle grid to keep people like that away from your life, because they don't add any value. And harsh as that sounds, you're a byproduct of the people you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
So you're going to have supportive commentary coming from people. Secondly, it's the personal pressure you've put on yourself by saying, I'm going to do this. Because if you say, actually, I'm not, it's like, but you said you were, and you've got to be your word.
That's it.
We're in the stockbroking industry, and the whole basis of the stockbroking industry is be your word. That's how the whole thing started out in the coffee shops and counting houses in London in 1700 and something. So, you say you're going to do something, you follow through and do it, and you've publicly put it out that you're going to do it. Then you did. Yeah. And I think that's really, really important. And so if you're someone that's sort of got a goal, audacious or otherwise, and you've got a support network of people, tell them what you're going to do, and they will hopefully hold you accountable in there and hold you accountable in a positive way. How's the training going? I hope it's going well. Do you need anything? Can I come and watch? And you had people from the office came and run, not the whole race with you, but little bits and pieces of it, which is an incredible show of support.
Yeah, and the best part about the whole thing, the last 2 kilometers, I was about to die. I was really struggling. All my best mates lined up, and they met me as I was running past, and we all finished together the last 2Ks. And that moment of euphoria with finishing with my partner and my best mate, some were on bikes, some were running, was just the best moment ever. And I will look back and I'll say that was a massive win, but it took so much struggle to get there. But they're almost the best wins.
They are the best ones. If it's something that falls in your lap, then, well, it was almost preordained. Oh yeah, well, I was lucky that happened. You've got to stretch yourself out of your comfort zone, which again, if we come back to the notion of that which we're talking about, which is about setting goals, it's so easy to play it safe and to be comfortable. And often over the years, people have asked me this, talk about being successful and you've achieved this and that. What's the opposite of success? And it's not failure, it's comfortable.
Yeah.
And you can understate your goals to make it safe and comfortable to put them out there, but you're not going to get the growth as a human being, as a person, and not just in terms of that, but the self-confidence boost of saying, I set something that's so outrageously beyond rational expectation, and I put enough time and effort into making sure it happened, and it did.
Yeah.
And that door, once it's open mentally, I think really can open a pathway to achieve greatness across so many facets of life.
I think value comes from the distance that it is between you and it. So whether it's time, money, or effort, that distance between you having it and you right now is what creates value. So for anyone setting goals for 2026, the value is going to be placed on how audacious your goals are. And that will be different for everyone. It might be to run 5 kilometers or run 500 kilometers, but you've got to do something that challenges you. So what I'm interested in, AB, as we sort of progress forward, what are some of your goals for 2026? What do you want to get out of this?
Look, I think, as I mentioned right at the start, that gratitude is something I need to pay more attention to, and I've
so pay rises for all of us. Then I
said gratitude. I didn't say gratuity, so it's a slight technical difference there. I think nice try though. I think the notion of not changing what you do because I've got a process that's most definitely worked well for me in life, but the ability to get more out of that process personally. So it's not just about a box tick achieved next, which you and I have explained and gone through many, many times, but to actually really get a higher level of joy and satisfaction from rather than just next.
Okay, so here's my question to you to put you on the spot now. You want to be grateful.
More grateful, yeah.
More grateful. You've said that publicly. You've said it to yourself. It won't mean anything unless you do something. So what are you going to do daily or weekly or monthly, whatever it is, to practice gratitude? What's your thing?
I've drifted in and out of this over a number of years. So it's not this sudden realization.
Yeah. This is something you're actively working on.
Yeah. Okay. And it's something I've picked up and put down.
Yep.
And put down a lot. So structurally as a family, one of the things that we do every dinner time, favorite, least favorite, and what you're grateful for today. And we do it with our kids and we do it as parents. And it's really interesting to see what they identify through the day. But it's also, and I usually make a point of doing it in age order so I get to go last in my house, so I can sort of maybe crib some good ideas from the kids or whatever it might be, or time to think. And it does then make you think about what you've done through the day. And my wife has a habit, as a great lawyer that she is, of throwing a wild card in there where it might be favorite, least favorite, and how did you help someone today? So she runs point on that, and she's able to throw the wild card in as well. And it does make you think about what's gone on through the day that you're grateful for. And that's something we currently do. And I think it's a really brilliant thing to do as a family. And the kids are primed usually. They're not coming in cold. Secondly, and I've done this in the past, I like to sometimes, and I've got to make this more regular, where it's a definite part of my sort of close down for the day. When I go to sleep, or before I go to sleep, is just having a run through of the day, and again trying to find the things I'd be grateful for out of the day. And if you actually put that conscious effort in, you realize how much good stuff you actually do have going. I mean, you can start at the top. You've got great health, you've got a wonderful family's all healthy, you've got an amazing home, all the bits and pieces, you've got the time to do what you want to do, and resourcing and all of that. But I think it's going more granular than that, and picking something in the day. And I'm working really hard on myself to do that. The challenge I have with that, not to make an excuse, but the challenge I have with it is when I start replaying my day, I also go, what could I do better? And then for about 3 hours later, I'm planning out, which is probably not the ideal thing to do prior to going to sleep.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm grappling with that. That's something that I'm committed to. I don't do a gratitude journal. My wife does, and maybe that might be something that helps a little bit in there. So there are a couple of marker points along the way that I'm sort of focused on developing out.
I like that. So there's a personal goal. What about business or money goal?
I think we've got some new develops more within the organization. Every year we've been at the vanguard now for an awful long time, and we don't let ourselves stand still. And some of these have been driven from the team, others are more personal. We're looking at this point in time at rolling out a hedge fund for wholesale clients, and for me, I've managed money in the past, and it's something that's there's a deficiency in the market. There's a gap that we can disrupt with that. That's one thing. I think rollout of us as an RTO, a registered training organization, is also, I guess, how can I put it, like a more formal recognition of the training expertise that we have. And I think for not so much for our existing clients, although, there'll be some changes in the way, obviously, that we deliver education around that. But for people that are looking out and in that still aren't sure, it's just another thing that perhaps helps them in that journey of assessment in where we're at. There are obviously the other initiatives that we have, which are client engagement, where the other more and more events that we're running through the year to spend more time with our clients to continue to build that sense of community. On the investing side, I'm going to say more of the same. I have a birthday account, which, given it 8 birthdays in my direct household, is one that each time there's a birthday, we deploy more funds in the market, and it's ensuring a good level of investment across there. I've got a couple more property deals I want to get across the line over the course of the year. They would be some of the money goals, and obviously I've got personal goals outside of that. How about yourself?
For me, with the exception of my investment property, I want to be debt-free this year in 2026. So no mortgage, no student debt, which I don't have anyway, nothing. And the reason for that is I want to then be able to use that safety and security, be able to springboard into other investments. So ratchet up what I'm doing here with AIE, obviously, and then do more property deals and more stock market trading as I get further along. For me, and it's quite counterintuitive, because a lot of people say you're young in your 20s, you should gear the hell up and have a massive swing at it. I realized that wasn't my personality. I don't need to be worth $150 million in my life. I'd rather be happy. And to do that, having no financial stress in sort of my mid to late 20s was a massive goal of mine.
I think that's a really mature goal, because the perspective most people have when it comes to investing, and particularly people like us that work in this scourge of the world, as we're often seen, is that parasites is one of the great ones I often see on social media. And yet when you're helping people, I'm not sure how that's parasitic, but anyway, that's their issue, not ours. Maybe they tune into this and have some better positive self-talk. If you kind of look at that and go, well, it's not about hanging up the guns and going, I've made it.
No,
it's just a subtle shift, and I suspect that shift will treat you well, because the notion of being young male, mid-20s plus, is that it's the swashbuckling time of your years, if you will, where you can swing for the fences with very little consequences. You're ahead of the game. You started younger, and you've overachieved through the time that you've been in it. And so you've kind of moved past that phase. But it's not putting up the white flag. It's actually a maturation going, hang on a second, I've had a look at that, and I understand that my personality type is more to this. And for everybody that's setting their goals, it's always interesting when you hear what other people's goals are, but they don't have to be your goals. You only make a good you make a very, very bad somebody else.
Yeah.
Why? Because if you're pursuing somebody else's goal, well, it feels, I guess it's almost like an imposter syndrome to an extent. It doesn't feel genuine. It feels disingenuous. It feels fake. It feels stressful, and it doesn't feel native. And that's not to say you don't stress yourself. You're so far ahead of 99.9% of people in your demographic. And it's not putting up the flag. It's about saying, I've had a realization that this is more me, and I'm going to play my game differently to get to what I want, as opposed to just having a very binary, let's swing for the fence plan until I don't swing for the fence anymore.
Yeah.
And it's and credit to you for sharing that, because, changing direction is very, very important, because your goal doesn't change, but how you get there does. And it's got to feel more native to you than something that is somebody else's DNA, somebody else's game plan.
More stuff and more debt just means that you're tied down forever to whatever you're doing.
You're turning into a monk or something?
Yeah, I'm going to be I
get rid of all cars.
Still like traveling, still like my car, my watches. I still like to spend, I still like to have a bit of fun. But I think with the big stuff, for me, it was I wanted to almost escape the matrix.
So when did you arrive at that? Is that something that's reasonably recent?
Maybe I would say about a year ago. I was doing another property transaction, and it fell through because of termites.
And it was the right thing. It was you dodged something that was going to take you outside of your comfort zone.
It was going to be another property, and I'd had the cash saved up, and it fell through. So I had all this money that I'd saved up, and then it was December, so I didn't bother looking at another house for the Christmas period. And then I really had a good chat to my partner, my parents, and then we had a chat and saying, okay, what do I actually want out of life? do I want all of the flashy stuff and to be super ultra wealthy? And I said, no, I actually probably don't want that stuff. What I want is to have a life where eventually I'll have a family and I've got unlimited time. What do I need to do in order to get that? Well, I need to retire my debt. So my goal now is get that done, fix all of that up. As soon as I'm debt free, I am free. I've escaped the matrix. I can then use any surplus cash from the years to come after that into other investments which are cash flow generating.
Yeah. That's really, really interesting, and it is a maturation in there. And for some people that are starting, go, well, yeah, it's all right for you, but it's all right for you because you started. So you can it's easy. You can do two things in life. You can make excuses, or you can make money. It's as simple as that.
I've still got to put the money on the mortgage. It's much easier to spend it. Of course, the discipline in what I do is paying off the mortgage every month.
Okay.
That's my thing.
So if we talk to anyone listening to this right now about their goal setting process, getting started, people go, oh, it doesn't feel right, I'm not sure about this, I'm not feeling it, or whatever. Getting started is not a feeling, it's a decision. And the sooner you can get emotions out of the way to actually get the game plan going, irrespective of what other people think, run your own race. And that starts by knowing what you want. So you've obviously got a level of clarity around that. And we can translate this back for everyone listening. The way I like to run my process for setting goals, I like to start with a blank sheet of paper. What do I want? Whether that's for this year, 3 years, 5 years. I know you operate on a 3-year time schedule.
Yes, I do indeed.
And you've got to be thinking about what's coming up, because a year, this time last year, we were saying we're going from season 5 to season 6. We're 7 now. A year is a very, very short period of time. It seems to go faster and faster. So you've got to be thinking a little bit further out. Where do I want to be in 10, 5, 3, 1? What decisions do I need to make today? And what action steps do I need to make right now so that I can have time working for me? Because either working for me or against me. So I like to have a blank sheet of canvas or piece of paper, note it down. And I like to do this with pen, not typing, because I think sometimes when you're writing stuff, you use a different part of the brain than that which you do when you're typing.
You want to be able to draw and scribble.
You intellectualize too much because you think before you do when you type, whereas you can just scribble that. So, block that out, and it could be things, experiences, possessions, finances, could be anything in that matrix of what 10 looks like, 5 looks like, 3 looks like, 1 looks like, and then you can break it down shorter term from there. And then once I've worked that out, I like to highlight the key ones, because it's easy just to go blur. And you go, well, that's great, but you're not necessarily going to do all of this. What are the main ones that really resonate that you feel connected to, and highlight them? And they then become my primary focus goals.
Yeah.
And then from there is working back to say, okay, if that's where I need to be in 10, 5, 3, 1, let's break this year down now and say, okay, what do I need to do over this quarter, and this quarter to be there in a year's time? And then within that quarter, what have I got to do this month? That's going to lay it up into that. And then within this month, what am I doing this week? And that sounds really granular for people. You go, hang on a minute, I'm talking about I want to have 10 million bucks. Okay, why? Why $10 million? And what are you going to do when you've got 10? Not if you get 10, but what are you going to do when you've got it? Is that it? You go, I've got 10 million bucks. See you later. That's not how this game works. No. And that sort of goal isn't a great goal. It might be to be debt-free, financially independent. Could be to have a buffer zone of X reserve in the bank, and that might be where you do put a number to it. But just setting a hard, I want 10 million bucks is a stupid goal. Better than no goal, but not much better than no goal. So you break it down and go, okay, that's where I'm at weekly. These are the things for this week. What am I doing today? And what am I doing now? And what are the habits I need to build that ensure that these things happen daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually to get there? The habit building behaviors, if you will.
Well, that's the thing. A 3-year goal sounds Hercules.
It's 1,000 days is nothing,
right? Then you break it down to a year and a month and a week and so forth, and it doesn't seem that big of a task, because all you need to do today is XYZ, and tomorrow XYZ, and by the end of the week it's Y, and then it builds and builds and builds, and then all of a sudden you've got this snowball that just keeps rolling. The Money and Investing Journal, and this is an unashamed plug, I know you created this. Pretty much since the day I started working here, I started using our Money and Investing Journals, and I would highly suggest it to anyone else. It is a great goal setting mechanism.
Well, I guess it keeps it visible.
Yeah.
It's
there.
And you can do your habit tracker, your streak tracker, which, as we know, we don't miss a beat with this every week. We don't miss a beat with really much that we do, because that's the nature of our personalities. But being able to keep on track. So, for example, let's say your goal might be in the health and well-being space, which obviously is a big one for you and needs to become a bigger slice of, wrong analogy, but a slice of my cake. And so the streak tracker in there might be exercise, or that's a harsh one because that's starting to get quite granular. Did you make good choices today? So did you exercise? Did you eat well? Did you drink plenty of water? And it's a binary yes or no. And it might be some of it I did well, but that's not all of it. So it's a cross. And
did you get 3 out of 4?
Yeah.
3 out of 4 may be your goal, or 4 out of 5
might be a win. Whatever it might be.
Right?
So you can soften it. You can make it harsher depending on what you want to do.
Yeah.
So it might be a tick, might be a cross. And then the next level of leverage that you can pull on yourself with that is, well, okay, if you're going for a 10 consecutive day streak, if you have a bad day, does that mean the whole streak starts again and you got to go another 10 days? Or you just go, look, I had one bad day, so I need to do 11 others to offset it.
That's hard.
So you can play that game as hard as you want to. So you can customize it with that. But again, the idea of it is that it gives you that structure, that segmentation, and also, seeing as I've just mentioned the term, we're talking about going hard, but you can't go hard all the time. You have to have time to love yourself and recharge and be grateful and focus on some of the other things you're doing. So we'd like to structure that with, okay, what's your start of the day routine? What's your start of work? What's your end of work? And what's your end of day routines? And the purpose for this, you can't work 24/7. You're not efficient or effective if you do that. You might think, well, if I work later, I get to an extent, but not always. So you have to have a hard cutoff with work. When do you stop checking emails? And it's not the time to do it before you go to bed, because then your brain's buzzing with, there's something's come up. No, I can't sleep. It's what's the finish line look like on that? And then at the end of the day, what's your finish up for the day, which is your typical, this is me, hit the lights, done.
Yeah.
And the same way for restarting it. So, you start your day in a good way, rested, and then you've got whatever you need to do from a personal admin perspective, and then you've got the start of your work day, because they're quite different. So how you start the day versus how you start the work. So you get up, what are you doing? You have to hydrate. Are you someone that meditates? Do you have a cold shower, an ice bath? Do you have stuff to do? What do you do in your relationship? My wife and I make my wife a cup of tea, and due to the fact that I've had many South African friends over the years, you can't go past hummus rusks, right? These are South African product. They're these big, very rustic looking biscuits. They look like baby biscuits, like rusks as you get for a kid. And there's nothing better than dunking them in a cup of tea.
So that's your thing in the morning, give a biscuit and a cup of tea.
There's almost a mutiny in my house if we're out of hummus rusks. So, and it's a great legacy. There's a South African fellow I work with that really kicked that one off, Clayton, if he's ever around, good guy. And so that's our thing. Is okay, what are you on for today? What's going on? And it's that 10 minutes of communication before the kids realize we're awake, and then they pile in, and that's then the start of the mayhem and the family time, and then work down the back of it. So there's structure in there, but none of the stuff happens. It doesn't happen by accident. Success is not an accident. It's a preordained thing. And success, whether that's living a fulfilled and peaceful life, whether it's living a financially abundant life, whether it's being in a happy relationship, whether it's being fit and healthy, whether it's having a connection with your kids, none of that happens by accident. It's about structure, process, design, and being clear on what you want, and more importantly, why you want it, which is the thing that so many people don't realize. So I said $10 million, why?
Yeah.
Why? What do you think that is? What's it going to do? What are you going to do with that?
Yeah.
How's it going to help you? Yeah.
Let's face it, it's not the 10 million, it's the pursuit of getting there that's the important
Exactly
part,
right. And if you've built the skills and the habits, most importantly, and the discipline to get there, you're going to overshoot that anyway. So why contain yourself and cap it out at 10? It should be 20, 30. Do you want to put a hard number on it? No, because it'll happen if you're playing this game. It just keeps going and going. And I guess, if we put a ribbon around quite a weaving and quite a personal...
This has been an interesting one. We've gotten a lot more personal than normal.
Yeah, well, you go back over the previous 6 and you can see maybe how this process is matured as perhaps maybe we have. One day we might grow up. To put a ribbon around all of this, the whole purpose behind goals is to help people get what they want from life. And it's not about changing who you are as a human being. It's helping you, I guess, become the best version of you that can be capable or have the skills or the knowledge or the behavior patterns or the habits to attain that which is important to you. Not the next person, but to you. And that's really what it boils down to, very simply. And it's that openness to reviewing what you've done that hasn't worked, that desire to go, okay, that didn't work, let's try something different, rather than keep beating your head against the wall. And then once you found something that works, scale the bejesus out of it too, and see where you can take it beyond what you thought was really capable. And, if you take a look out of the window, we're in a world that is very uncertain, where we've got a brutal cost of living for people, where we've got a world that, social media draws you in and consumes your time in relationships, and food choices aren't necessarily as holistic or healthy as they could be. And the focus might be, I'm looking after my backyard and not really in a community or a society anymore. You become more insular. And all of those are things that you can put right with having good quality goals. And the framework for it is there. So if your goal is to become a better trader, dial into everything that we provide in that space, commit to that, make the bandwidth available, and build the habit of consuming everything we do. If your goal is to reduce your debt, get onto a decent budget and get the debt paid down. If your goal is to become fitter, start exercising, and start today. If you can only run 50 meters, great. Do 60 tomorrow and 70 the day after that, and you'll get there. But if you wait for it to be perfect, it just doesn't happen. Give it a go, review it. You need help. That's what we're here for.
That's it. Well said, AB. Thank you very much. And let's do season 7.
We're here. We're making it happen. It's nuts.
Isn't this crazy?
Well, we're in this beautiful studio. The sound's not echoey. We've got our own microphones. We've got an audio and video production team. We've got multiple cameras. We've got tens of thousands of followers. And everyone said it can't be done.
Think about when we started. A boardroom, shared one microphone, one camera on an iPhone.
It was an iPhone. It's Big Red, wasn't it?
Big Red. We still got Big Red.
Big Red's lurking.
It sits on my desk.
There you go.
It's a monument.
How things have changed, and there's an example. One of our goals was to create a regular portal of information for people. Yeah, we're a top 5 podcast in Australia now, and give us a review and a rating if you found something enjoyable. Follow us. That really helps. Subscribe to the show. But it's just something that it starts off as a vision that was scoffed at initially. Remember, they said, "Oh, you won't be able to do it weekly." And here we are.
Monthly,
here we are. We've done it.
Don't break the chain.
And part of the reason we do this isn't because we want to do it. It's because of the support we get from you, our listeners. And sincerely, we thank you for indulging us for what's now 7 seasons and giving us great reviews and ratings and sharing it with other people. Because hopefully we can continue this year to deliver. It's got some great guests lined up this year too.
We do too. Well, AB, I'm very excited for what's ahead, and hopefully our listeners take plenty out of this. Comment below. What's your top goal for 2026? We want to hear it.
Let's get after it. Make it happen.
Thank you, brother.
Cheers. There you have it, guys. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, hit the notification button. We'll look forward to hosting you next week.